So it's time for your tabletop RPG session, but you got a person who you don't know if they're going to show up or not because they always show up late and they're not there now. And then you've got that other person over there on their cell phone, zoning out, not even paying attention. And you've got something else that's going on that it looks like it's going to be some drama popping off. What if I told you that there is a solution to all of those things that works every single time? But you have to be brave enough to implement it. Let's go. I had a poll here recently, and it was a poll that asked what people thought Rex tabletop RPG session. And I gave the answers, and there were only 4 that you can give. And I asked people, hey, if you got some other ones, put them down in the comments below. Now, this was a pretty good turnout for a poll. And I could say, wow, it really surprised me. It didn't surprise me at all. It turned out exactly as I knew it would. Now, there is a way to get around all these problems. I mean, if you look at the poll right here, what does it say? Player disengagement. Oh, half of the people, pretty much. The other biggest one was outside drama. Okay, so you've got 35% of that, and you've got what? Another 50%. So 85% of your problems are with players either not being engaged in the game or players bringing in some outside drama of some kind. But then you had in the comments, somebody mentioned, well, another big problem is people just don't show up. They're right. That is another big problem. So let's give that one maybe 10%. All right. Well, we got 95% of our problems right there. And you know what they all have in common? Other people. There is a way to definitively and instantly solve all 3 of those problems, and it is to play a tabletop RPG solo. All those problems go away. Now, I know what you're saying. You've got this thing in your mind about playing a tabletop RPG solo, and it's probably something that is wrong in terms of mindset. Today, I'm going to bust open 2 myths. We're going to debunk them. 2 myths about playing tabletop RPGs solo. And I'm going to start with the big one first. So by far, this is the number 1 objection and myth that gets thrown out when it comes to playing a tabletop RPG solo. You have to play with a group. You're meant to play with a group. You should play with a group. Okay, no, you don't. And I'm going to prove it to you in 2 ways. So let's compare a tabletop RPG to a board game, because apparently there's some people who still think that a tabletop RPG is a board game. It isn't, but they play it like one still. So we might as well just use it for our purposes here. All right, so you have a game, a board game. And on the box of that game, what does it say? It will tell you the minimum and the maximum amount of players that can play that board game. All right, when it comes to a tabletop RPG, where does it say that? I'll wait. Yeah, the answer to that is it doesn't, because there is none. That's why it is just a bad question in these forums. I've seen this like more than once, or people discuss this all the time. Hey, what's the perfect number for a group? There is no perfect number. If you're applying it to a situation that we're applying it to here, right? Player zoning out over here, player late, or player not showing up, or player bringing in drama. Okay, well then the perfect number is 1. It's playing a tabletop RPG solo. But that is not a cookie cutter approach to playing tabletop RPGs. You need to discern for the situation that you are in. And if you are experiencing that, which it seems that a lot of people are experiencing that from this poll, well, that means that maybe you should pivot and maybe you should play solo. Because, well, tabletop RPGs don't have a specific number. Now, let me give you some more evidence of this by going back to the golden and silver age of tabletop RPGs. Now, I consider the golden age of tabletop RPGs in the 70s, which is when they were born. Then the silver age is the 80s. Then you got your bronze age in the 90s. And then the modern age from 2000 on. All right, let's go ahead and let's look at this idea of playing tabletop RPG solo and where it came from. Can we find anything in the past where publishers had this idea in mind, or is it just something that somebody came up with one day and kind of ran with it? I mean, it really has never been there, right? It's the golden age of tabletop RPGs, 1977 to be precise, and the game comes out from Game Designers Workshop called Traveler. And in their 3-book set, in book number 1 on page 6, so right out the gate pretty much, they start talking about something called the solitaire game. Let's look a little closer into this. One player undertakes some journey or adventure alone. He or she handles the effects of the rules as the situation progresses. Solitaire is ideal for players who are isolated by situation or geography. Well, goodness, if you have the situation like we've been talking about, then of course solo play is going to be a far superior way to play that tabletop RPG. Every time, all day, every day, and twice on Sundays. But was that a one-off? Is that, these guys were just ahead of their time and they were just forward thinking? There was no other publishers thinking about that. Let's go to 1984 yellow box set basic of Marvel superheroes. All right. Now they come out with a base module for that game, and it's called Thunder over Jotunheim. And it's a solo module. Now, this is the module right here. And as you can see, you got a little cutout thing here. And you have these little areas here that you can only see with these special glasses or this. Basically, all you really need is kind of like a red lens, and then you can see what's underneath here. You're supposed to be playing Thor. You could probably play Beta Ray Thor or any other character that kind of fits this power level. You can probably switch them out. Then you've got the system over here. Tells you exactly how to play. And it's mostly like a choose your own adventure type deal. But you can't play it any other way except solo. So it seems like TSR had that in mind also, that playing solo is probably going to be a thing when it comes to tabletop RPGs. Was that it? Were there the only 2 publishers thinking about solo play? Well, wait, there's more. 1985. And first edition DC Heroes come out. And they have, as part of their base modules that come out for that game, and that matters, by the way, because it says that they were thinking about this early, not after another version or an advanced set. No, they were thinking about this on the outset. And they come out with a solo module called Wheel of Destruction. And so this is it right here. Wheel of Destruction. And this is, you have to be Batman on this one, right? And so you've got your Batman, you got your stats for Batman, and it sets you up with all the different locations and all the rest of this stuff. You got your Batman character sheet and all your gear and stuff that you can choose from here. And you are Batman. And again, it's like a more choose your own adventure type stuff, but they had that in mind as well. But they decided, hey, well, we might as well do another one. So they did. They came out with another one. And this one starred Hex, that guy with the tore up from the floor up face, and he's a cowboy, you know, that face is just jacked up. But they came out with another solo module. Now this is Mayfair Games. That's another company, a totally different company. So now we have 3 different companies thinking about solo play with tabletop RPGs. Were there more? I'm sure there were. So this whole idea that, well, they have to be played in a group is absolutely wrong, false. Now, it may have been more prevalent, it may have been more popular to play with a group as it is today. But solo RPG play has pretty much skyrocketed, folks. I mean, in 2003, I think is when Mythic came out with their kind of base system. But then they blew it out of the water in 2006 when they came out with the Game Master emulator. And then it's been like on like Donkey Kong ever since. And they just came out a few years ago with the 2nd edition of that. And as a matter of fact, I'm using that system to play DC Heroes over on my Substack solo. So if you want to know how to play solo or what this looks like, or, you know, it's not immersive enough, yeah, that's wrong too. So you can see how all of that plays out over on my Substack. So I'll leave a link for that down in the description. But this whole idea about, you know, you have to play in a group. No, you don't have to play in a group, y'all. That is just absolutely false. Now, this one here is normally said by a person who has never tried playing tabletop RPGs solo. Like if you ask them the question, okay, well, what tabletop RPGs have you played solo? Normally that answer is going to be they haven't, or they won't answer it because they haven't. So how in the world would you know if one is more fun than the other? You wouldn't. And it depends on the situation, y'all. Again, if we're applying it to this, players are disengaged and there's drama and there's people not showing up and all the rest of that, okay, then playing solo is going to be superior to that, unless you like kind of self-flagellation mentally and emotionally when it comes to all that nonsense. And you want to add that extra stress on yourself because you have been programmed to believe the lie that this is the only way to play tabletop RPGs. I've got to find a group. I am having a ball over on my Substack playing DC Heroes. I tried to get people to play DC Heroes back in the day, and I think we got like maybe partway through a small adventure, and that was it. Now I'm going all in on this, and I'm like, oh man, this is dope. I'm having a blast. And I'm having a blast not even thinking so much about the system so much, because the system is meh to me, but the story is so dope. And so I'm having a whole lot of fun playing solo. And it is immersive. I'm all up in this story. I really am. I can't wait to go and play again. So the idea that, well, it's not fun, number one, you need to have played a tabletop RPG solo before you say that and have some experience with it. And number two, it's going to be based on the situation. Now, some people prefer to play tabletop RPGs with a group. That's on you. But if you have the problems that we've been talking about here, why would you prefer to keep going back to that? It's doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, which is just stupid. Hamster in a wheel cage. Busy, 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 getting nowhere, and then complaining about it when the session is over. Why would anybody have sympathy for you after that? You doing that to yourself. Stop doing that. Now, I said brave earlier because there's a lot of people who are afraid to break out from that bad habit because they're so comfortable with abnormality. That doesn't make any sense. I can tell you right now, there's sometimes I want to play with my buddies, and there's sometimes where I don't. And then there's sometimes where I want to play with my buddies and they're just not around. They're not available. They can't play. Well, I'm not limited anymore. I could just play my own adventure. Or I could just save that game, play another one, and that's normally what I do. If I want to play with my buddies and they're not available, I'll play another game and I'll have fun playing that. But every single time I play solo, I always have fun. It's a great time. It's the perfect time. Every single time. So why would you put up with that? RPG elites don't settle. So why should you? Now, we've been talking about a particular situation here and using solo play to remedy that situation, which it will 100% of the time, all of the time. However, there is another way to remedy a situation like that. And we're going to talk about that in the next video. Playing a tabletop RPG solo, that is here to stay. I mean, we've just seen that it's pretty much been here since the inception of tabletop RPGs. The idea has always been there. There have been little systems and things that's been there, but it's more prevalent now than it has ever been. And now it's becoming pretty common to play a tabletop RPG solo. For example, Vasson has a solo system called Thursday's Child, and you guys have seen that system on this channel in my series Suffer Not a Witch with Akelo Balandemu. I love that. I love that they came out with a system. Before that, I had a solo system with the Fate Meal Die. Shout out to Elton. What's up, bruh? And then in the Electric State, which is another Free League game, in the core book, they have the solo system. So they're not even doing it separately. It's in the game. So it's here to stay, y'all. And it's fun and it's immersive. And here's the best thing, drama-free, and you're always engaged. You can't beat that with a stick. It's almost perfect. Almost. Hey, if you got any value out of this video today, y'all, could you do a brother a solid? Could you please? And just crush that like button. Crush it. Also, if you want to stick around, I come out with videos every Tuesday, God willing. And I also come up with other stuff all week, and it's kind of sporadic when I do. But if you don't want to miss none of that stuff, then go ahead. Hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. Now, this question of the vid is kind of a two-parter for two different segments of my audience. Okay, so the first question of the vid, let's say it's just two questions. The first question of the vid is, if you do not play tabletop RPG solo, what's your excuse for not playing tabletop RPG solo? All right. The second question would be, if you do play tabletop RPG solo, what has been your experience playing tabletop RPG solo? So I think this is the first time I've ever done like a two-tiered question like that. So these are really two different questions. Like I said, to two different parts of my audience. I want to get some engagement going about this particular topic down in the comments. So let's do this like Brutus, because you always knew this. But it's that time, folks. That's right. It's time for me to go and do my snagglepuss.
So exit, stage left.
Hey, if you've got a game going on this weekend, happy gaming. I pray it's an RPG Elite session. If you don't have a game going on this weekend, but you want to play, go ahead and play solo. Know what I mean? But until next time, folks, God willing, it's me, your boy servant. I got to get out of here. Peace. 5,000 leets. Oh yeah. I'm gone.